Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Most Epic Adventures with your host, me, Rob Zip. I'm feeling much better today than I was the past couple of days. I just had some allergy issues. No worries about me coming down with COVID-19, thankfully, currently. Tonight, I'm going to be joined by my friend Natalie. She runs a rescue called Hot Mess Pooches. Um, and she will be joining us shortly. She's going outside for this show, apparently. Okay, I don't know what happened there. That was strange. Hopefully, you guys are still around. Um, I am currently streaming on my personal Facebook page, on the Facebook page for the Most Epic Adventures, my YouTube page, youtube.com/RobZip, twitch.tv/RobZip, and uh, yeah, on Twitter at Most Epic Show. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought for a second. But if you would like to jump in at any point, I am copying the link to join us. I use a platform called StreamYard. They do not pay me to advertise them, so I actually pay them to take their advertisements off my videos. So, but if you'd like to join us at any point, um, I couldn't post that. Why? Okay, it went on everything. That's very strange. Anyway, um, yeah, it's there. Okay. So I'm gonna share this into some groups that I'm in. Rob Zip is in. I'll share it in that one, the Most Metal Facebook group. We're not gonna be talking too much metal today. We're gonna be talking about dog rescue, Satan, and a little bit of metal. So when Natalie comes on, she'll explain what she's about. First and foremost, she's about rescuing dogs, and specifically Dalmatians, or what she focuses on. A lot of them are special needs animals. A lot of blind and deaf dogs, from what I've seen from her postings and what she's told me. But here she is. Let's go ahead and bring her in. She looks like she's enjoying a nice day outside. Hey, how's it going, Natalie?
Hey, good. How are you?
Where the fuck are you?
I'm in my backyard.
I did not know that you lived like on a body of water. That's awesome.
Yeah, we have a 6.5 acre pond on the property.
Do the dogs like to go swim? Oh, I can hear them. Do they like to go
Sorry,
run?
sorry, that's why I'm out here. Hopefully, the barking won't be too loud. I actually don't let them go swimming because we have all sorts of natural wildlife back here. So
Oh, yeah, and dogs.
there's been an alligator.
Oh no.
Yeah, so the yards are fenced off, so the dogs can't get into it.
That's probably a good move.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
so tell us about Hot Mess Pooches.
So Hot Mess Pooches is a 501c3 nonprofit. We primarily rescue Dalmatians and special needs dogs. I get a lot of behavior cases, deaf dogs, deafblind. Like I said, primarily Dalmatians, but I have like special needs Great Danes, a couple bite case Great Danes, kind of whatever just tugs at my heart. Typically, it's a Dalmatian, but other breeds as well.
Now, why specifically Dalmatians?
So that actually goes back to a childhood thing. Growing up in the 90s, I was kind of obsessed with the band Sublime. And I wanted a Dalmatian because of Louie Dog. And I found out, through my teenage years, like whenever Brad passed away of a drug overdose, that Louie was found curled up in bed with him, and Louie never left Brad's side, no matter how fucked up Brad was. So I wanted a dog that was going to be that compassionate, or not compassionate, but dog that was going to be that dedicated to their person. I guess no matter what I was doing or what kind of trouble I was getting into, I wanted a dog that was going to be by my side, and one that was going to right now, as I'm sitting out here, the dogs that are kind of like following me all the time, they're sitting at the watching. That's just the kind of dogs that Dalmatians are. They want to see what's going on. They won't leave your side. They're super needy, and I love it.
That's awesome. And how many would you say you have right now?
Oh, I have about 40 dogs.
Okay. Now, are those like 40 permanent dogs, or are they like dogs that you're like fostering?
So some of them are permanent. Some of them are fosters. If you go on the Hot Mess Facebook page, you can see some of our adoptable dogs. Some are going through like behavior modification and things like that until they can become adoptable. Sometimes I take in dogs that are sanctuary dogs, that are like known sanctuary dogs that have illnesses, behavior issues, things like that. And I expect to keep them their entire lives. But sometimes they surprise me and they become more stable, behavior changes, things like that, and we eventually adopt out those dogs. So it's personal dogs, foster dogs, and sanctuary dogs.
So I'm looking at your Facebook here.
Yep.
Got some cute little dogs here. So saying adopt me. So you do help find homes for these dogs as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Great, and I know just from knowing you travel all over the place for these dogs, don't you?
Yeah. So the one that you just scrolled by is actually Ember. Ember is a puppy that, well, she's not a puppy anymore, but I rescued her mom, dad, and siblings. In fact, her sister Shelby is one of my personal dogs. But Ember went to Memphis, and she currently works at the Memphis Fire History Museum, and she is deaf. And nice. That was her at work, I think, a couple weeks ago. Yep.
Well, that's awesome. And so Dalmatians have like a special relationship with fire departments. They always have, right?
Yes. So the history of the Dalmatian, they were carriage dogs or coach dogs. So they used to run alongside horses. And whenever the original fire engines were horse-drawn, Dalmatians used to run alongside them and bark to let people know that they were coming through, and then they would protect the horses at fires. So historically speaking, yes, Dalmatians are firehouse dogs because of the horses.
It's kind of like with the Budweiser Dalmatians as well, right? Same concept.
Yep. Yeah, the Budweiser Dalmatian with the Clydesdale, absolutely. And to this day, they still travel together.
Cool. We got some of your fans here. Let's just show.
Hi, Kat. That's my best friend.
And then somebody else.
Oh, Mary! Yay! Mary's adopted 3 dogs for me, so she's nice. Awesome. She's up in Ohio.
Very nice. Very nice. So we have some other pictures that you wanted me to show.
Yeah. Right?
So let me see if I can pull these up. Was there any particular order, or you want me to just pop them up?
Just whatever. You can pop them up.
All right. It kind of covers this up there.
Yeah, that's our puppy pile. So most of those dogs are right at a year old, or they're just under a year old. So in either owner surrenders, they've come out of puppy mills. You've got a whole bunch of deaf dogs there. So yeah, that's the Hot Mess youngins.
The Hot Mess youngins.
Yeah.
We've got these guys here.
So that's essentially what my kitchen looks like at all times. You guys think that Houston traffic is bad. You should try walking through my house.
You got one little dog back there that's not.
Yeah, that's my dad's dog. That's Lady, the Cocker Spaniel. She thinks she's big and tough, and she rules the house now.
That's funny. That's how all little dogs are, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Let's see, we got these. This is your
Yep.
bed, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of times people ask what it's like to live at the Hot Mess house, and that's
Uh,
essentially how I sleep at night. Whole bunch of dogs.
nice, nice.
Yep.
And this is probably what you're looking at right now, right? Kind of.
So that's the front of the house.
Okay.
But still something pretty similar. Yeah. That was actually a training picture. So because I deal with so many deaf dogs, sorry, we're not far from a street, so I don't know if you can pick that up in the background.
No.
But because I work with so many deaf dogs, I do a lot of training with them. And one of the most important things is teaching them boundaries. So they're taught not to go through go through the threshold of the front door, because it's a safety concern, and I want to make sure that they learn to respect, going outside and things like that. So that was actually a training photo.
Right on. I got
Yep.
it. I got it. And here, I've never seen so many Kongs in one picture.
Yeah, so I actually, people think just because I have a lot of dogs that, they don't get their own individual time or enrichment, things like that. But I do what I can to still, make sure they get bones every day. They get Kong full of peanut butter. That was Cash. He likes hanging out on counters. So either on bathroom counters or kitchen counters, and he was supervising the Kong stuffing. And there's about 30 Kongs in that picture. And I fill those up every couple of days, stick them in my freezer, and make sure that the dogs are still getting interactive toys and things like that.
Fun.
Yep.
And I'll show a couple pictures of you. Here you are with a
Bradley.
big dog.
Yeah, so Bradley was actually found on the street, maybe 10 minutes from my house. Turned out he had an owner. He was only 9 months old whenever I pulled him off the street. And I literally had to pull him off the street, found his owner, she surrendered him, and he had been just left loose. He was being shot at by neighbors.
It's terrible.
I mean, that the scarring on his face is permanent. So that's after he had been in rescue for a couple of months, but he's living the life now. He lives up in Northern California, and he's spoiled rotten, and I get pictures of him all the time. And sometimes I wish my adopters would adopt me too.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
And here's a picture of you in downtown.
Yeah. Yep. So 2 of my deaf guys, I get them out and we do, socialization. I want to make sure that each dog that comes through, I know their personality. I know what they can handle. The big guy is Novio. He's actually my biggest dog here. He's close to 200 pounds and he is deaf and vision impaired. And then the little guy is Atticus, and he's one of my personal dogs. In fact, if I'm out and about, you'll probably see Atticus with me. He's like my emotional support dog. He helps with my anxiety.
I saw you. I don't think you saw me, but I saw you at Comic Palooza last year with the dog. Was that the dog that was with you?
No. I was doing training with the dog that was at Comic Palooza.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to stop you. You look like you were on a mission.
Yeah, we were doing some training. So I evaluate each dog that comes through, and I send out a lot of dogs to do, therapy work, service dog work, advertising, things like that. So I try to get these dogs into homes where they're going to not just be loved, but also have a job.
Right.
Yep.
And then one more. This is at Brash?
Yeah, that's at Brash. So this is part of my crew. A lot of these people are volunteers, or they are members of the local TST, or they were just out there helping me that day. So this was from our last big event. We are missing doing big events for sure, but that was from our last big event at Brash at the end of January. So yeah, some volunteers, friends, and TST folks.
TST.
Yep.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
But for those watching who don't know what that is, do you want to explain or?
Yeah, we can talk about that for a second. So I'm a member of the Houston chapter of the Satanic Temple,
Hmm.
and a lot of my volunteers are also members. In fact, Hot Mess, believe it or not, is a primarily satanic run organization, and it is the first dog rescue that I know of that is run almost entirely by Satanists, which is kind of funny to say, and it's not something that I ever thought I would talk about, but
because like you guys don't actually believe in a Satan, right?
no,
Right,
no, no. We don't. We are non-theistic, so we don't
right.
actually believe in Satan at all. In fact, we don't believe in anything but ourselves, and we follow the seven tenets. And the first tenet is actually what brought me to TST because I run a dog rescue and sanctuary, and so the first tenet is one should act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. And that's what really got me. That's why I can proudly say, yes, I'm a Satanist. This is a organization that is run primarily by Satanists, and that's because our first tenet teaches us that we should act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures, whether it is other humans or deaf dogs, just be a good person to others.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yep.
And I know you've done fundraisers at Brash,
Yes,
and you've had
absolutely.
and you've had protesters
Yep.
protesting
Yep.
your fundraisers there.
Yep. Yeah. One of my big things is educating people, whether it's on, dog behavior or what it's like to live with a deaf dog or blind dog, or
Mhm.
whether it's educating people on TST or being a Satanist. And, a lot of people think that they know dog behavior, or that they know what it's like to live with a deaf dog, or that they think that they understand Satanism, and they don't. So I like to have open conversations with people, where I explain, my research and what it's like to actually live this life, and not just jumping, on a bandwagon, you know, protesting people or thinking that I'm, going to spread misinformation, things like that. So yeah, we've had some of our events. We were actually set up at the Black Mass that Brash held back in, I think that was November, and we had a ton of protesters there. I should have sent you one of those pictures. It was kind of amusing, actually. So
I mean, it's insane. Like you're doing something on your own to try to raise money to do good,
yep.
and people are going out of their way
Yeah.
to try to tell you you're wrong for that.
Right.
That's that's
Well, and then
insane.
here's the funny thing is I was baptized Catholic, and I went to Catholic school, and so I know the other side also. And for me, I would rather be around a bunch of, like I said, this is pretty much a Satanist run organization. I'd rather be around a bunch of other Satanists that are helping me than a bunch of Catholics that are, turning their nose up at people because they don't believe in the same thing.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
So my pal TJ, he was on last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in a cool band called Forebode. I had the whole band on last night. Um, so yeah, so I don't even know where to go from there. So with okay, so let me ask you, in your fundraising efforts, has have people found that out and been like, oh no, we don't want to be a part of that because they don't understand, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. I mean, it has happened. I can't say that it's happened a ton. People that have watched me, I mean, I've been doing dog rescue for almost 20 years at this point. So And I wasn't out for a very long time. But the people that have watched me over the last few years, Hot Mess has been a rescue for 5.5 years. And if you think I woke up one day and went, oh, you know what, I'm going to change how I do things because I'm telling you that I'm a certain way, you're wrong. Like, I'm still the same person rescuing the same dogs, doing the same thing, except for now, I have a community that I really love and I appreciate and I love being a part of. And they're probably more supportive than most of the rescue communities that I've been a part of. So it's happened a little bit, but not, I think I've actually gained more support, being more honest about who I really am than the support that I've lost. I've even had some supporters that are like real diehard Christians that come out and say, hey, I can't say that I agree with your beliefs, but thank you for telling people what you believe in and being honest and being true to yourself. So it's been really kind of interesting.
And if anyone looks at the 7 tenets, I mean, I don't want to go through them here, but they make sense, and they're not negative. They're all positive.
Right.
So
they are all positive. Yep.
I just think there's the connotation. There was a Luciferian and Satanic Temple and Levian Satanism are all completely different, just like different forms of Christianity.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there was they tried to open a Luciferian church in Old Town Spring.
Yeah.
And it just, before they even opened, they had protesters out there, and nobody knew what they were about. They just saw the name, they were just like,
yeah,
Jesus wouldn't allow it, Jesus,
yeah.
If there was a Jesus,
right.
He wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I can go on rants about this myself.
Oh, dude, trust me. I do it all the time.
We're going to talk about you and your dogs. Sorry.
It's okay. You're all
good. Hey, Jake, he's going to be on tomorrow. He's like, you're talking about my brother-in-law and sister. Oh, cool. We'll talk about that tomorrow, Jake. Anyway, okay, so you sent me some questions some people asked.
Yep.
He said that there's a church. Their church. Oh, wait, so
are they TSP?
No, I'm not sure. I'll ask Jake.
Okay.
Maybe he's talking about the Luciferian church I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
I'll talk to him about that.
Gotcha. Because I was going to say there's a really big TST presence in Houston, bigger than most people think.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. So a couple of questions that people asked you earlier. I guess this was on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So somebody asked you, do you ever think a dog is too aggressive?
Yes. Unfortunately, sometimes dogs are born kind of, I mean, if you think about it, we think about dog behavior as in behavior. We forget that with people, it's mental health, and I kind of look at it the same as with dogs. Sometimes there are dogs that have chemical imbalances, or they've had trauma, like, physical trauma that has led to a change in behavior, things like that. So unfortunately, it does happen that there are dogs that are too aggressive, where it's not humane for the dog to still live in a state where they are that uncomfortable at all times, or where they're dangerous to themselves or another human or really another dog, depending on the situation. So there are dogs who I believe that are too aggressive. And I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to live in a state like that where everything causes a reaction, and it's just not a good situation for the dogs, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
No, there are places that won't allow certain breeds of dogs. Like, Like, do you think that's valid?
No. So, whenever I was living in Ohio, I actually helped to overturn statewide breed specific legislation. So I gave proponent testimony as a dog behavior specialist, that helped to overturn the statewide BSL there. And I did a lot of research on dog bites, dog bite related fatalities, things like that. And really, it's not a breed issue. It is a management issue. It's a training issue. It's a socialization issue. We have to look at each dog individually, and not
Right.
a breed and say this is the label. I mean, there are dogs that were bred for specific purposes, but very few are bred for human aggression and whatnot. So
Right.
typically it's a people problem, not really a dog problem.
Right. Absolutely. What's your strangest rescue story?
Ooh, I've had some really, really strange stories. Gosh, I mean, I drive all over the country saving dogs and taking them to homes. So I definitely came back from Ohio with 4 Great Dane special needs Great Dane puppies a couple years ago. And it wasn't necessarily a strange rescue, but it was definitely interesting having to manage 4 Great Dane puppies, especially like stopping in a hotel room or, having to stay in a hotel room and keep them quiet and whatnot. I guess the strangest ones are whenever things come together like super fast and they're just like on it, or like spur of the moment, I've got to save this. Oh, actually, okay, I can tell the story about, we saw Ember earlier, who works at the Memphis Fire History Museum. So I rescued her family. However, the people that had the mom and the dad in the litter said that the puppies got out and 2 of the brothers went missing. And then they found out later that the neighbors had gotten the puppies. So I never got confirmation on, what happened to these puppies. I took the other puppies, I took the parents. And so I was kind of scouring the shelter for a couple months after that happened, expecting, this Dalmatian puppy or Dalmatian mixed puppy to end up, or at least one of them to end up in the shelter. Sure enough, I was tagged one day, and it was probably 2 months after I got the original puppy pictures. And I'm sitting here like looking, like comparing the pictures from the original puppy to the puppy that was in the shelter. And Ember and Shelby's brother, Turbo, who is now Linus and living in Toronto, he was found in a shelter. Somebody tagged me in him, a shelter here in Houston. And I was able to see his little heart nose. He's got a Dalmatian, or a heart spot on his nose. And I was like, that's one of my puppies. That's one of the puppies that was missing. And I went in there and I just started bawling. And I explained what had happened to the shelter director, and he let me take him, or rescue pull him. And it was something. But I thought that those puppies were just gonna end up on the streets or, end up euthanized in a shelter. And so I'm really happy I was able to get him.
So you mentioned rescue pull. So does that mean like if there's like a Dalmatian that ends up at a local shelter, you can go and bring them in to your facility?
Yes, yeah. So Dalmatians are a really special breed. They're super sensitive. And they're very high energy. You go back to the history of the Dalmatian, where they were coach dogs, so they have lots and lots and lots of energy. They can be very protective of their people and their space.
Right.
And so I try to pull them out of shelters. And I actually don't just pull locally. I pull from all over Texas. I have rescue pulls in Ohio, Nebraska. I've got pulls, or I've got shelters that I pull from all over the country. And I rehab them. And then I place them in appropriate homes. A lot of times whenever people see them in shelters, they go, oh, it's a Dalmatian, I want them. And then they find out a week later that they do not, in fact, want this Dalmatian because they are not an easy breed to deal with. So that, or the dog has underlying behavior issues, health issues, things like that. And so we take the dog in, we address the issues, we find an appropriate home. I offer lifetime behavior support for each dog that comes into my rescue. And then we also require a contract that states for any reason if this dog is returned, they have to come back to me. They cannot go into a shelter. That way I'm protecting each and every dog that I save.
No, that's great.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, what's your oldest dog and what do you attribute to their long life?
So the oldest dog that I have currently is Sergeant Pepper, and he is a 13-and-a-half-year-old Dalmatian. He has traveled the country with me. He's literally been from coast to coast. I would say he's been on a good diet. He's had lots and lots and lots of socialization. He, in fact, for a long time, he would actually go and help me out with my clients if I had a dog that I needed to temperament test with another dog or anything like that. I would say he probably has one of the strongest bonds with me. He's been everywhere. He, I would say diet and just the fact that he's always been a really happy dog. And so maybe that helps to attribute to it, but I would like to think that he stuck around so long because he's had such a good life, but I can't always say that that's true. But definitely understanding I guess the relationship you have with your dog and understanding their health needs, because Dalmatians are not a healthy breed, and then understanding their dietary needs. All of those things go into keeping your dog around for a long time.
How long do they usually live? What's the average lifespan for a Dalmatian?
Dalmatians are typically like 11 to 13. Okay. My oldest ever has been 15. But unfortunately there's a lot of health issues, so I've lost them at like 7 years old to things like kidney failure and stuff like that.
Now is it like with a lot of purebred dogs, is it like inbreeding issues? Is that an issue thing?
So that was a big issue with Dalmatians in the early 90s because of 101 Dalmatians. So now it's not necessarily an inbreeding thing. It's that there are lots of irresponsible breeders that are not doing proper health checks before throwing two dogs together to, pop out a litter and make a couple of $1,000. So, and unfortunately we get a lot of that in Texas. That's why I have so many Dalmatians, because we have a ton of backyard breeders in Texas that just don't know what they're doing, or they just don't care. They just want to make a buck, and then the dogs end up with me 6 months down the road.
Now, what are the legalities with these breeders? Is it fine or?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Especially the Houston area, we have such a major dog overpopulation problem anyway.
Yeah.
Our shelters can't even respond to all of the dogs at large, like unless it's like a puppy mill or a really nasty environment, things like that. There's no repercussions for the people that are doing this.
Well, and so like I grew up, and my parents still live off Canino, close to the Harris County Animal Shelter, and the thing with that is that's the county animal shelter, but it's in the city limits, and so people dump their dogs off at Melrose Park all the time, just expecting the pound to pick them up, but they won't because it's in the city limits, not the count. It's crazy.
Yep. Oh, for a long time, I did a lot. I was actually right down the street from there off of Little York last week. On a whim, somebody said that there was a Dalmatian that had been that had been dumped off of Little York in 59. So I was over there driving around for about an hour and a half looking for this Dalmatian. I used to do a lot of street dog rescue over there. And yeah, if it's, on the city county line, they won't pick them up. A lot of times they don't have the resources to pick up every dog anyway.
Right.
So unless the dog bites someone or, it's a sad situation that we have here in Houston, definitely.
What do you think people watching this could do? No.
Spay and neuter is a huge thing. Keep your dogs inside, build them a fence, do what you got to do to keep them at your house, so they're not at large. Train your dogs properly, socialize them. I see a lot of bite cases and things like that, and a lot of times it's stuff that should have been prevented. And then support your local nonprofits. Support your small shelters, your small rescues, things like that. Your big guys, they get a lot of funding that the little guys do not get. I get excited if I get, a $10 donation. And that's something that a lot of your bigger shelters and facilities and things like that, they don't even bat an eye at that. Adopt, obviously, if you are dead set on purchasing a dog, go to a reputable breeder.
So if someone wanted to make a donation to you, where would they go?
So if you go to our Facebook page, you can, there will be a link. I can actually go through and post a link to our our PayPal, and I can post a link to our Amazon wish list. Okay. That way they will be up at the top, but you can go to our Facebook page and send us a donation, and I can put our Venmo and whatnot up there. But if you look hard enough, you're gonna find how to donate. There's a cute little picture of Seven, one of my pups, and there's our donation. There you go.
Very cool.
Yep. And we try to put our donation information with every post.
Very cool. And do you have any okay, so this is what I'm calling this a COVID conversation, because a lot of things are up in the air right now. A lot of, this is a heavy metal travel show, but there's no travel and there are no shows going on. So I'm just talking to people that I find interesting for one reason or another. And I think what you do is pretty metal, so
thanks.
Rescuing dogs for Satan, that's, how more metal can you get, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So how has this affected your charity?
So it sucks real bad. So I do a lot of transport. So typically I would have taken dogs up to Ohio. I have a couple rescues in Canada that I've been working with, and we're trying to get some dogs moved up there.
How does that work internationally?
So I typically, as long as they have health certificates, they can typically cross the border without any issues. Okay. So I get the dogs up to Ohio or Michigan, and then people from Canada will come down and get them and cross the border with them. It's a little bit easier if the Canadians go back into Canada with the dogs. Sorry, I
got sidetracked.
Oh, you're good. But typically I would have done another transport by now. I was literally transporting dogs up to Ohio whenever all of this started. I came back down. I didn't want to get stuck, up in Ohio at as much as I love it there and it's my second home, but I needed to be down here with my dogs. I haven't been able to do another transport since, which really sucks because I have a whole bunch of dogs here that I would like to get moved to homes and other rescues. You know, some of my donors don't have jobs anymore, so I'm not getting as many donations right now. People that think that their dogs can get coronavirus, and that is, dogs can get a strain of coronavirus. However, this is not it. They cannot get this coronavirus. So coronavirus is essentially an upper respiratory infection. And humans and dogs, it's a little bit different, but it's not the same thing. So you guys don't have to worry about that. There have been people that have been surrendering dogs because they are stuck at home with them. They decide that their dog's a jerk and they don't want to deal with him anymore. So I've taken one dog from a situation like that. And so, yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know what I would be doing if I didn't have dogs to take care of, to be honest. But yeah, so it's been a big thing. And then of course my decompression at the end of the day is going to shows, going and seeing my friends and stuff like that. So I haven't been able to go to a show in months, and it's driving me a little bit crazy.
What was the last show you went to?
Ooh. So I went to a small metal show at a DIY venue here in Houston called Trip 6.
Trip 6.
And it is owned, it's owned by Satanists. They're really awesome. I love those guys. And there was a metal show. It was a bunch of local bands, bands from Austin that played, oh gosh, I think it was the beginning of March, like March 7th or something like that. So that was the last show that I went to. The last big show was probably the Reverend Horton Heat at House of Blues a couple months ago.
Well, the Reverend.
Totally not metal.
No, but I mean, I was like, oh, the old Reverend. Yeah, I mean, he's not metal, but who cares? I didn't ask you like the last metal show you went to. I just asked you the last show. So. That's fine. I know you're not the biggest metalhead. I know you like a lot of like pop punk stuff too. But you do like some metal, obviously, right? I'm not trying to out you. I'm not degrading you.
Thanks for outing me. No, I'm just kidding.
You can listen to whatever you want.
Guilty pleasures.
No, whatever.
I'm gonna go listen to some Taking Back Sunday now and cry.
Oh, don't lie. You're not gonna cry. You're gonna dance with the dogs as you're listening.
Bingo. That's exactly what I do. My volunteers come over and laugh at me.
By their paws,
You know, I have puppy dance parties at least like once a night in the kitchen. Crack open a beer and turn on some music. They love it. Most of the time, they can't even hear what's going on, and they just look at me like I'm crazy.
So what are you drinking now?
This is just sparkling water.
Sparkling water?
Nothing fancy. Nothing exciting. The beer is still in the backseat of the car.
That's not a good place for a beer.
I think. I got home and I was like, oh shit, I need to jump on this. So.
Well, you made it.
The beer will go in the fridge.
The beer will go in the fridge. There you go.
Or in my belly, whatever. Probably in my belly.
Well, you should go in the fridge first. You don't want to drink a warm beer. It's warm.
True. Yeah.
I can't talk about the weather because every time I talk about the weather, it's like, okay, the interview's over.
It's so nice out right now.
Yeah.
Although it is warm.
It does look really nice with the water glistening and the trees back there.
Yep.
Maybe when the situation gets a little better, I can come visit and see the dogs for myself.
Yeah, definitely. What was that?
I can have an adventure at the Hot Mess Pooches rescue.
Yeah, I can make sure some of my volunteers are out that day also. In fact, I've got a couple that'll probably be here in the next half hour or so to help with some fencing that came down in that storm last night. But we like to work during the day, and then we'll actually hang out out here at night, and have dinner or shotgun White Claw.
Well, I still don't drink, but if you have some of that sparkling water,
Fair.
maybe I'll drink
The
some of that.
sparkling water is good stuff. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Not the sparkling alcoholic water, but just the regular sparkling water.
I'll save that for myself.
The White Claw.
The White Claw.
Man, I had my friend Charlie on the other night. He's a White Claw connoisseur.
Yes.
Man, it's insane. I don't get it. That stuff hit after I stopped drinking, and
yeah,
I just looking back, I don't know if I would have drank that stuff. Like,
I actually started drinking it at Bonnaroo, because I wanted to stay hydrated, but also a little bit buzzed. And
alcohol totally dehydrates you.
I don't know. I was also at Bonnaroo to see Gojira, so it was a whole weird ass thing.
Man, I talked about them yesterday also. That show, their Poppy, Gojira are opening for Deftones, but that's supposed to be in July or something,
right?
At White Oak Music Hall, at the outside venue they have there. And I bought the ticket just to see Gojira, and I want to see Poppy too, but Deftones bore me. So
I mean, I'm a '90s kid. I listened to Deftones in middle school, so I would still get down with some Deftones. But our token cat is Gojira. So, nice. Okay, the inside one, and then outside I have Behemoth and Anthrax. The cats had to have some metal names in order to deal with the dog.
Well, there you go. Way to bring it back to metal. Very nice, very nice. Well, everybody go to her Facebook page, Hot Mess Pooches, and look and make a donation. She's doing a lot of good work. I'm looking on here. I'm sure it's on here. You've got okay, so you're a volunteer-run 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to helping special needs and senior dogs through education, placement, transport, and lifelong care. You can also find us on Twitter at Hot Mess Pooches.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Natalie, your poor dogs. They've been, they've been so sad. They're like, what is she doing? Why is she ignoring us? We see her. I know they were like, I know she can hear us. We know she's not deaf.
Yeah. It's dinner time.
It's dinner time.
So they're all like, hey, woman, come bring us some food.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll let you feed the dogs.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming on here. And
thanks for having me. And after all this is done, you should come and hang out.
Yeah, cool. Maybe I'll bring Sarah down.
Sounds good.
All right.
Okay. Awesome. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, everybody. That was my friend Natalie from Hot Mess Pooches. Very cool person. Very cool organization she runs. Hopefully we will get to go down there sometime soon, and you'll be able to see the dogs in person. And tomorrow I'm going to have Jake Wayman. He is the vocalist for Vesperian Sorrow and the new vocalist for Nahaya. We will have him tomorrow, and I don't have anything scheduled after that. So if you'd like to be a guest, feel free to send me a message and we can have you on. But until then, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Give this a thumbs up. And if you're watching on Facebook, feel free to share it. It's easily shareable on Facebook. And I guess that's it. Until tomorrow, I'll see you guys. Be good, stay safe and healthy, and rock on. Blech.